Hey, welcome back to the channel, Michael Clarida Arts, Drawing with Michael. So this morning, I attempted to do a warm-up session, sitting in the chair with the Surface and, doing the videotaping and stuff like that. And unfortunately, for some reason, my Surface wasn't really wanting to play this morning. So I'm trying again. We're sitting here at the drawing desk where I typically do live videos or, like traditional drawing stuff. So I wanted to have the Surface plugged in this time, so we're going to try something a little bit different. Hopefully it'll work. I wanted to do some character faces, some warm-up faces, and obviously I've already started to draw somewhat. And instead of doing the video this morning, I actually drew some on the iPad. So that video is going to be for a later date. But today I'm working on the Surface Pro 7. I've had some challenges with the Surface Pro 7. I recently did a video review of this particular product and I sang its praises. I thought it was great. And about 2 days ago, today is the 11th, November 11th, 2020, about 2 days ago, they had an update to not only the software, to the most current iteration of the Windows 10, they also updated the video card. And now that that's happened, I've noticed some anomalies that aren't very friendly. The screen will go black, it'll hang up. And also I looked at my task manager and holy moly, it's taking 50% of my RAM and I'm not even, doing anything. No programs are open or anything like that, art programs. But I know that you guys didn't come here to see that. You came here to watch me draw. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some character faces. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't shrink my head down. This is OBS Studio, for those of you who don't know. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. And we're going to go ahead and go into Sketchbook Pro. So Sketchbook Pro is a wonderful program. You can save as a Photoshop, document, TIFF, PNG, different layered formats. And it's completely free, which is really cool. And you can download a ton of brushes, which is also really cool. But I typically use it with this device right here. This is the XB Pen Quick Key Remote. And since I don't have a keyboard connected, I've programmed that particular device to do my quick keys. So if you hear some little clicking here and there, that's what it is. So my document image, let's see, what are we set at? We're at 100 resolution, which is not that great. So we're going to go boost that up to 150. Actually, I'm going to go to 200. Okay. Document's really just too big. So we're going to probably get that down to, I don't know, 12. Okay. That's a little bit different, or a little bit better. Let's go ahead and do a little test. Also, I'm using the Raphael 520 by Renassier stylus. I recently also did a review on that on this channel. And after the software update, I had a little bit of a hiccup. And hopefully it won't do that same thing it was doing this morning, I hope, because there was some line breakage that literally just, gosh, it was terrible. I'm looking at that going, oh, man, is it time for me to go ahead and call the Surface, a fail? Literally, I was at that point. And, I just thought, let me go ahead and do what I need to do and do a restart. See if there's any software updates, see if there's any driver updates, which there were not. But I messed around with the pen a little bit, restarted the pen, let it reset itself, and lo and behold, it's much better than it was this morning. So what am I drawing? Just some character faces, putting down some digital ink into Sketchbook Pro. And, I don't really have any thoughts. Maybe make it an ogre of some sort. I haven't decided yet. Hopefully everybody is enjoying the show that is the election. And no, I'm not going to get into politics. That's completely off limits whenever it comes to my channel. This is a drawing channel, not a politician channel. But yeah, it's been an interesting show, to say the least. So many things going on that don't necessarily, have a history to them, they were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. That's the first time that's ever happened. So that is that. Weather's, you know, there was weather. We've up here in the mountains of North Georgia, it's, you know, is it cold? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it hot? Don't really know. It can't make up its mind. You know, then we have a couple hurricanes that come through. And yes, we do get hurricanes here up in the mountains. Typically, the mountains will tear it apart pretty well by the time it gets to us. But the last time it came through, we had like, gosh, 7 inches of rain, 8 inches of rain in less than a 10-hour period. So we had some flash flooding going on. And it was pretty significantly dangerous. You know, I heard of cows washing down rivers and stuff like that. So, you know, you go from one extreme to the other. One extreme being, I used to live in Central Florida, where there was extreme heat, there was humidity, and also there were hurricanes. And down there, when the hurricanes come, they're legit. You know, you really got to watch, you know, what the news says and evacuation stuff and, you know, what you need to do to stay safe, keep your family safe. So I'm wondering if I need to kind of go back to that whole mindset up here, because I definitely don't want to get caught in a flash flood. I do own 2 4x4s, so, you know, with that mindset that hopefully the water won't get as high as the engine of the doors to strand me. So what kind of a creature is this? I don't know, kind of a mix between maybe an ogre or, you know, it's an ogre female, so obviously maybe it's pointed. It goes like this. You know, the same construction mentally applies whenever I do, you know, character faces like this. This being sort of humanoid. You know, humanoid, it's not gelatinous, it's not mechanical, it's humanoid. So a lot of the same bone structure that applies in a human form will apply also in this particular creature. Now, kind of the whole Star Trek mindset, right? If you look back over the different creatures that were created in the Star Trek universe in the 60s, they didn't have a lot of capability. And in terms of special effects, I mean, it was kind of cutting edge back then, but they were kind of limited to putting prosthetics on a human face. And also, you know, they mobility and stuff like that. The universe was kind of catered towards the humanoid figure. Now, they did have instances where certain creatures maybe were really different. I can remember one where a creature was made of rock, and I believe Spock had to communicate with it. So that whole mindset still is in effect whenever I do a creature like this. You know, I don't want it to be so unrecognizable and so weird looking that, you know, the person that is looking at it can't really relate, if that makes any sense to anybody. So, and also, since it's a female, there are certain things that kind of lend itself to the whole female ideal, which is, you know, the larger eyes, the larger eyelashes, for one. You know, I'm not putting a bunch of wrinkles in, because wrinkles tend to age a character pretty significantly and quickly. So I'm not doing any of that. Go ahead and talking to you, I'm messing up my art here. Go ahead and do the Widow's Peak. And then a lot of times I'll do what's called a mashup. If any of you guys have viewed my channel before, you know that I love animals. Animals are kind of my jam. And I love mashing up different types of animals. So let's go ahead. That nose is a little too far for the 3 perspective view. So maybe it's a mashup between maybe a feline. Oh, that's not a stereotype. Oh, it's a sexy feline. No, if you guys know, I don't really do that on this channel. I don't do sexy characters. That's not really my MO. You know, it's not that I can't, it's just that I don't. I never really understood what the whole fascination with making your drawings super sexy was. you know, if it calls for it, then, you know, do it to the point where it's not distracting. I never want something in my character's design to be distracting, you know, and a lot of times, especially if, I don't want to say if a guy draws it, because I don't want to be, you know, a generalist whenever it comes to drawing females, you know, but the chest area typically is something that, you know, artists in general tend to really focus on. And again, that's not what my channel is about. So just drawing some character faces. The pen seems to have corrected itself, which is really good. I mean, before it was really, really bad. It was like I would draw here and then would stop and it would draw again like that. And I was like, oh my gosh. Literally, I just got this pen not too long ago. I sung its praises on my channel of how great it was. And then here we are, not even 2 weeks in, and already the pen is starting to mess up on me. So let's go back here, do the hair. You know, generally speaking, programs, and because I get a lot of questions, you know, what kind of pencil you're using, what kind of program is this, what stylus you're using, and just as long, I'm pretty much okay with any type of device. Number one, as long as it doesn't inhibit me from creating drawing, right? You know, I've said that before, that computers are hard to use, and if they get to the point where they're so hard to use or they're distracting, then, you know, I just as soon use a pencil. Whoops. Let's go down. You know. All right. What's nice about this particular stylus is the pressure curve. The pressure curve is really nice. I really don't like how these lips turned out. Okay, do this. Let's do a few wrinkles here and there on the nose. I've been doing a lot of toy design in my professional life. That's why I haven't really had a huge amount of time to do my videos. My apologies for that. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to have the lip kind of rounded at the bottom here. Again, you know, I'm trying to kind of have that balance. So I'm going to have a tooth come out. And of course, if you look, like the lip comes out like this, so then it's going to be darker right here. Have that come around, that crease, because that tooth is pushing out. Then I have that other tooth kind of out like this. Yeah, let's go back. What's really nice about this controller, since I have it programmed the way I do, let's go ahead. Here we go. Have that lip come out just a little bit further. That lip comes out. Maybe it's got a couple little cracks in there or whatnot. Here's up. What I like to do too is draw through. That means to see what's behind this particular form. The tooth is right here, and even this nose is kind of messed up. It needs to stop probably right about here, and then it comes out wider. And there's a part where you can see the side of it. If any of you guys ever have done any type of animal portraiture, it's very good to get that in your artistic toolbox, because it'll really lend itself to your character designs, you know. Okay, that's not too bad. Go here, and you have that crease that comes out. Remember I talked about, actually I'm going to go ahead and erase that. We're going to have that come up just slightly. Just that little upturn will help define her as a friendly, or at least what you think she is as a friendly. Okay. Go ahead ahead and shade this in because it goes in a little bit and then it comes out. All right. So the same thing applies here. I want to give her some really cool eyelid or eyebrows. Let's go ahead and decrease the brush size. Maybe her hair comes up like this. It's kind of playful, right? And then her comes up like this. There we go. So in a second here, there we go. That's much better. So I want to adjust this brush right here. So I double click. Go ahead and get rid of that. I double click, bum bum, and it brings up this particular window. Now, if you look, I can, here's the basics, size and opacity, but whenever you come here, you can really change how the brush reacts, dynamically speaking, from pressure, sensitivity, to pressure curve, to saturation, to opacity, with light pressure, heavy pressure. So it says size with heavy pressure. Now, size with light pressure, this is your taper. So basically, I'm going to bring that up to where it's similar to what I have for size with light pressure. So what that does is it basically makes it a round, right? So now I can focus a little bit more on some of the general shadowing and to give it a little bit more roundness and form. Give it maybe a simple light source, right? Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead back here. She's not too bad. And I am not going in and quote unquote rendering her. That is not the purpose of what I'm doing today. I programmed my eyedropper, boom. So now got my little eyedropper, and if I zoom out, make sure that it's completely white. It is. So I notice the light source is coming from the upper right-hand side. We have a highlight here, a highlight here, highlight here, and I haven't really gone in and messed around. Let's go ahead and, oops. Okay, let's do this. She's got there we go. That's better. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out. See what I need to do. Okay. Check my layers. It's important to keep your layers straight as well. You, of course, don't want to mess. So let's do the highlight right here. Let's see how that looks. There we go. That's not too bad. Okay. Let's go ahead and color in this ear, this hair right here. Color in the ear. And since this ear is kind of faded in the background, it'll be kind of in silhouette somewhat. Okay. And let's go ahead and shade this nose right there. Not bad. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next one. Again, not really having anything in particular in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that one. I'm going to add a layer. Ooh, I think I messed up. I might have. Nope, we're good. Okay. Make sure we're on the right layer. I'm going to go back to this brush because I want to go ahead and mess around. Size with light pressure. I want that taper back to make it sort of like a sketch brush. See how it's nice and skinny? Okay, so let's go in. Okay. Okay, so I have the here, have that ear come up. Again, it's kind of an ogre character, so we're still just playing around. I'm gonna make that a little bit smaller. You know, whenever I was growing up and determining what my life path was going to be, I always did have a inclination towards visual arts. You know, I'm sure a lot of you did. And also, you know, music. Music was always a really huge passion, and I actually went to school for music first because that tended to be something that was more natural in me. You know, played an instrument and ended up, you know, going to school for singing. And that's just one of those deals where I determined that I wanted to, you know, I wanted to be a visual artist because I thought there was going to be more work. I really didn't want to just sing just to sing and then, you know, eventually be a teacher, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't, you know, feel like it was something I wanted to do. Yeah, my screen just went completely black, so I'm not really sure why. I'm sure it has to do with that most recent update to the video card. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is, you know, I definitely love to experiment. You know, experimentation, especially, you know, in the visual arts, is something that I really encourage vehemently. You know, you don't ever want to put yourself in that box, that proverbial box, that will limit you, you know, artistically speaking. So that's why a lot of times you'll see my channel, I'll do something completely wacky and weird. You know, oh, today we're gonna, you know, we're gonna do Z-Sculpt. You know, we're gonna work in ZBrush, and that is something that, you know, I really have gotten into, especially lately, really trying to broaden my horizons and just be a different artist overall. But what I was trying to really get at was the construction and how, you know, I looked at how professional artists and you know, those in the animation industry were creating their images. You know, I was a huge fan of you know, Disney animation growing up. You know, I loved Robin Hood, which, by the way, recently had an anniversary. I think it's 1960. I think it's 60 years since it came out. You know, the animated one. Yeah, I'm gonna have that eye just literally, and maybe we'll have a couple strands coming over it. And I was always interested in how they were creating the characters because, you know, my original life path, I wanted to be a Disney animator. You know, I went to school where, you know, Disney was recruiting from over there at Ringling at the time, and I'm like, you know, I'll see what happens. And of course, you know, I didn't end up getting a job as an animator at Disney. I ended up being a product designer for Disney for a couple of years. And previous to that, I worked, again, you know, working and doing products for, you know, the Disney parks and Disney retail. And so, you know, I already had that mindset of how, you know, the Disney animators create, you know, their characters. So I was able to start creating characters and doing Mickey Mouse really quickly whenever I started working for Disney, because again, you know, I started out, you know, in my natural, in my career, you know, already knowing how to, you know, do stuff like that. But what I'm starting to find out more and more, especially by looking and watching so many other incredible talented artists on the internet, you know, doing things one way is not necessarily the best way. And a lot of times I watch you know, character artists and whatnot doing characters in such a way that I'm like, I don't know how that's going to work out. And then whenever I see the final iteration of it, man, it's beautiful. I mean, it's not a sense of jealousy, it's a sense of awe. You know, I've been doing this a while and I've got my way of doing things, but man, there are so many ways to do the same thing. You know, I say that about Photoshop, I say that about your career, I say that about so many different things. And it's completely true. You know, so many different ways to do something. And I think that a lot of times as artists, especially artists that, you know, are doing a lot in the market, you're like, well, my way is the best way. Well, you know, maybe it's the best way for you, but not necessarily the best way for everybody, you know. And the same thing goes with, you know, drawing Disney style. There's a lot of ways you can draw Disney style, but the end result needs to look like Disney work. So that's kind of where I'm getting at. I think that, you know, early on, I wanted to do something so bad. I mean, I can remember going through and just, you know, we had a huge book. I don't know if you guys had one of these. We had the huge book of Disney, and it was a white book, and it weighed about 5,000 pounds. And I'm sure they still sell it somewhere around. And it had to do with the Disney parks and kind of the legacy of Disney. And man, I read that thing. I still own it, actually. Somewhere around here. I'd have to find it. Oh, there it is. It's right. It's right there. Yeah, I'll show it to you. This is the book that I had when I was like 6 years old. Yeah, see? Got it right next to me, and it's so chock full of Disney classic stuff, and it's just wonderful. And it goes in from concept development to Imagineering to, oh gosh, everything. You know, their animated stuff all the way through to their parks. And I just love it. And what I gained from that early on was just the sense of wonder that is involved in you know, stepping into a legacy. And I remember working at Disney, just pinching myself continually because I couldn't hardly fathom that I was experiencing one of my bucket list items, you know. And that was just really cool. And then actually doing Mickey Mouse, that was really cool. And then now I work, you know, I don't work for Disney in-house anymore, but I still do occasionally Disney artwork for vendors that supply items to Disney. And a lot of my day now has to do with other licensed products for like Warner Brothers and Marvel and some of those other properties. But, you know, still experiencing that legacy is really cool. And I'll never forget, you know, all those wonderful moments that I had listening and being in that place. It's just really cool. You know, they always say that you have certain moments in your life whenever you remember certain things, especially whenever it pertains to work. You know, whether it's your first AAA game, whether it's, you know, your first animated feature that you've, you know, worked on. I can definitely say that one of the cool things is whenever I got to see my artwork, you know, being produced and sold in the parks, and I got to go to the parks and there it was. And then of course you see it on, you know, people's outfits and whatnot. Or a phone case that you designed, or, you know, a character that you helped make, or whatever. It's just really cool. So, okay, so let's double click this. Let's go back. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the size with light pressure. We're going to go up to where it is with size with heavy pressure. Okay, so now we have that nice broad stroke, and I'm going to go ahead and shade in the hair a little bit. If you notice it went black, that has to do, I believe, with the video card after they updated it. Yay! Thanks, Microsoft. You know, I've always, I mean, I think I had a Surface Pro 2 then I had a Surface Pro 3, and then I had a Surface Pro 5, and I have a Surface Book, and then I had a Surface, have a Surface 7. So I've really covered, I know what Surface devices can do and what they can't do. And, you know, I gotta be honest, the Surface Pro 7 has been pretty epic until the update a couple days ago. It has just been god-awful. So, well, I know I did a lot of yammering, but you can kind of see the process of character creation. You know, I had the mindset in my brain, okay, so let's go ahead and darken this up. And the mindset in my brain, we're gonna do a couple ogres today, but female ogres, so size was like pressure. So that's kind of where I landed. You know, maybe I'll come back and start messing around maybe a little bit with the form and the intricacies of this particular character and the other ones. So let's go ahead and do some eye shine. Let's do this. All right. I don't know. Sometimes it's just good to do something, you know, and move on. Whoops, that's a terrible color. Let's do that. Let's make it a little bit darker. There we go. Maybe she's got no, let's do it right here. I don't know if you could call that a beauty mark, right? Anyway, I'm sitting here and we get stink bugs here. I don't know if you guys get stink bugs. I'm pretty sure they're, you know, they're pretty much everywhere, aren't they? And I can smell one, because after you've smelled one, you know what they smell like, and they don't smell so good. All right. So maybe I'll come back. I'll go ahead and drag that down. So I'm going to save, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to make the screen go black. File, save as. Okay, so let's go PSD. Okay, PSD. It doesn't need to be Freddy 2. Let's do Ogre Fun. How about that? Ogre Fun. Okay. So I've had an issue with the machine corrupting files, and it really stinks because I've lost quite a few files, and frankly, it's something that shouldn't happen, but it does. And I'm hoping that it didn't have anything to do with the past update, because I don't want them to go back. Here, you know, I had to reformat the SD card like 3 times to get it to work. Not a bad machine overall. This isn't the highest echelon of the Surface Pro 7. This is the i5 with 8 gigs of RAM. And honestly, it does fine. I'm just running a screen recording software in the background. That's probably why it's kind of jittery and jumpy. And, you know, don't be scared to go out and get yourself a Surface device. They're good, you know, especially if you end up getting one that has all the bells and whistles. They are expensive, so you know, with the new Macs coming out, I'm sure that that's going to be a huge deal going forward. Yeah, some of the stuff they're claiming is like, oh my gosh, are you serious? 6 times faster, graphically speaking, and 20-hour battery life, and you know, man, I tell you what, if Apple would come out, yeah, it's a stink bug. If Apple would come out with a MacBook Pro, like a Surface where you can draw on it with an Apple Pencil, that would be insane. I'd never pick up a Microsoft device again. So, female ogres, that's pretty much where I wanted to land for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. And, you know, definitely like and subscribe if you like what you see. Look around. I got a lot of videos on here. A lot of videos with a lot of different types of content, you know. Stuff that, you know, as far as having a life story and being able to show you guys a professional working illustrator and somebody that designs toys, and and has had the experience, you know. On the other side, am I there yet? Probably not. I think I still have a long way to go, you know. And you know, practice. I always say practice makes perfect. Practice doesn't make you perfect. Practice sustains where you're at. It's the experimentation that makes you better. And go out and experiment. Experiment with art. You know, have some fun. Go and try things out and experiment and, you know, fail. Fail a lot. That's what I do. Okay. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.